Yasmina,
Amazing.
congratulations. Exciting things are ahead of you. And
Thank you so much.
from what I was told, most recently you were at Content London 2023 to promote this what new series, Karantina, that's coming.
Karantina, yeah. I'm really excited about it. It's sort of a Mina Hollywood crossover, which I think is something that we've needed. I'm just super excited about it because it's something new and we haven't really touched on human stories in this way. And we're not really highlighting a certain group or, glorifying another and, sort of making a certain group of people look like the villains. It's just a show about human stories. And there's none of this like stereotypical stuff. And I think it's a really lovely balance of creativity and of real raw stories. And I play Jana, who is she's a violin prodigy, and it's sort of her only ticket out of the situation that she's living in. Her family is going through gentrification. She's caring for her paraplegic mother, and as we start the pilot with her meeting her dad for the first time after 7 years as he's being released from prison, and so suddenly she has a dad again, and it's a lot to swallow, and it's these are difficult conditions, and so you know her violin is basically the only way that she can lift herself out of this situation that she's in. So it's a crime drama thriller. It's great.
So what initially drew you to the series?
That it was a challenge in so many respects. I think until now, I'd say this is probably one of the most challenging roles that I've been blessed to embody and to play. But especially that it was also done in Lebanese. I'm Egyptian, so that's a completely different dialect. I actually have 25 or maybe over 25 different dialects in the Arabic language. So it's not like, a British person doing an American accent or vice versa. There are certain words that are just completely new and completely different. So that was a challenge. And also just emotionally speaking, it was something that I hadn't touched on at all. And it was a lot of character research and just a lot of sort of grounding to be able to get to the place that I wanted in order to play her in the most, authentic way possible. And also that it's a really cool team, and it was an international team as well, which I loved. And these are sort of the environments that I'd say I thrive in because I've been lucky to, I was born and raised in Switzerland, and then I moved to Dubai, and now I'm currently in between Cairo and London. So I love anything multicultural. I'm a third culture kid. And so we had Greeks, we had Europeans, we had Americans, we had English, and we had all different types of Arabs. So it was, and we shot in Greece. So I'd say it was like a Greek salad on set. So it was really nice, to be able to relate to all these different cultures in one way or another. And it was just the most incredible experience.
Now, how did you get into the cultural aspect of your character not being Lebanese? I mean, I'm not familiar with the the MENA region, whether there's culture
You
similarity.
will be soon. You have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just but I do know there are different people. So
Different.
how did you basically adjust to that?
I mean, I have so many Lebanese friends, and so I definitely, I was seeking help from that side. And also we had an incredible Lebanese coordinator, Jana El-Abd, and she was our dialect coach as well as our Lebanese coordinator. So she was incredible in that sense, for just, going through the scripts and just reading the lines and getting the dialect right. And what's funny is that I was shooting something else. I was shooting a project here in Cairo, and it was sort of like overlap. So I had a little bit less time in terms of prep, and so I had to do my first session on Zoom. She was like, listen, we can redo the takes for lighting. We can do them for any technical issue, but we will not redo the take because you got your dialect wrong. And so I started to panic, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I can, but it ended up doing fine. I didn't have to go back for ADR, which for me is a huge win. But yeah, I mean, it's you have to respect the fact that you're playing something that maybe not too familiar, but it's important to do your research and to feel like you've done it in the most authentic way possible. So we had a lot of help, the whole entire cast. So yeah, that was definitely a big help.
Now, is the character relatable to you? I mean, or you have to do like deep research, especially the background or the poverty aspect of the character.
I mean, I wouldn't say she's the most relatable I've played so far, but I think in any character that somebody plays, or at least, usually you will find some things that will align with also your set of values. It doesn't have to be like a character traits that you think align, but it could just be moral compass. It could be the hunger to, you know, to kind of follow your dream and to achieve what you want. And so I think from that aspect is the fact that, you know, her violin is sort of like her only escape. And that's my case with anything artistic. And just to, you know, to have the grit and to have the perseverance to chase your dream and to get what you want, I think is something that I could have definitely related to. But it was a lot of it was emotionally, it had a toll on me because it was also the first time I've heard actors be like, yeah, I would just complete, like I black out every time I act, and I'm just like I complete. And to me, I was like, well, I don't know about that. Like that's a little weird, you know. But I had a scene where it was a very, very taxing, emotionally taxing scene, and it was the first time where I felt like, whoa, I did black out. Like, what was that? And it was kind of the first time that I started to have that experience, and I found it really, really beautiful and super rewarding. And so, you know, it's you don't always have to relate to your characters. The most important thing is you don't judge your character in any way, shape, or form, because you have to become them and you have to understand why they do the things they do, why they say the things they say, and just how they act and how they behave. And so it's, yeah, I think it was just like a super rewarding experience for me. The most important thing is character analysis, and I'm also very, this is like one little thing that I have. I'm very sensitive to scents, and so I have a perfume or like a scent, it could be like a hand lotion or whatever, that correlates with each character that I play. So having that for Jana, I went with Moro Gabriel, our casting director, who I've known since I was 12, and we were out in Athens, and we, you know, we're smelling any sort of like perfume, any sort of scent possible to find the right one, because it keeps you sort of with the wardrobe and with the makeup and everything. Obviously that helps, but for me the scent really kind of, you know, takes you somewhere else, because if you know, think back to your favorite vacation, you'll sort of like remember the scent of the hotel or like your mom's perfume and stuff like that. So that was a big help as well.
Uh, that is an interesting thing. I have never heard of that. I mean, how or when you developed something like that?
I guess I was working on something like maybe a year ago, and I just wore my own perfume, and on set it felt weird because it just like, because it's a scent that's too familiar to me as Yasmina, so it wouldn't make, like, it just didn't make sense, like something was off. So I was like, oh, I think that's what's throwing me off, is the fact that this is so familiar because I put this on every day, but I'm not being me right now. So maybe we should find something else. So I do that with any character that I play, and it doesn't have to be like a whole thing, but just like something that will kind of bring you back. So that way it's also easier to kind of like clock in and clock out. So yeah, that's something that I think is really cool.
So with all the characters you have played in the past, if you get that scent, does it all come back to you?
It does a lot of it because yeah, it's like I have this weird scent thing that I think I inherited from my mom, but it's like I was just because I still have the spray that I used for Jana, and after Content London I found it in my room and I like sort of sprayed it and I was like, this is weird. And it sort of brought me back. So definitely, yeah, I think if, you know, I go back and look through all the scents that I've used throughout like the jobs that I've done, I would sort of remember, and it kind of, you know, reminisce over, you know, what that character was like.
That you know what, I do have to admit that is pretty awesome. You probably have like a perfume
Which
closet for a collection.
I will eventually. It looks like it. Yeah.
Now, for the series, because the character plays a violin, did you have to play the violin for the series or learn how to play the violin?
So we didn't have, well, at least, you know, there wasn't like a ton of prep time, but I definitely made sure to get the right hand right. I had an incredible double Mersini who takes credit for the left hand. And so there were some wides where I would have to sort of like so I had to there were some parts in the songs that we were playing where I had to get, you know, some part of it correct on the left hand. But the most important thing was the right hand. And in terms of camera and everything, I mean, I think it just translated really well. And it's the biggest, it's Jana, like this, it's the biggest part of the character, so you have to take these things super, super seriously. And it was sort of nerve-wracking at first because I hadn't experienced violin at all. My dad was a piano player for 45 years, so I grew up with classical music and I love classical music, but I'm more experienced with like piano or guitar, so I'd never really experienced what it was like to hold a violin. The first time I did was to prep for Jana. And so yeah, I mean, it was like a sort of, out of body experience as well. And I think that's also one thing that sort of helped me tap into the character. But yeah, Mersini was great, and she was helping me out, and we did tons of rehearsals on set. And yeah, it was such a cool experience, and I'm really glad that I challenged myself in this way, because I'm attracted to anything that has to do with music. So I was really excited about that part.
I was going to say, because from my understanding, being a musician yourself, it probably made this a little playing the character a little bit easier in its own way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I inherited also a musical ear from my dad, so that was helpful in terms of, getting the nuances of the music and to sort of feel what parts I should sort of emphasize and what parts should be a little bit softer, and in terms of movement. And I watched a lot of, so Jana is the character that I played. She in the show is obsessed with Sarah Chang, and so I watched a lot of Sarah Chang violin, and of her playing the violin. And it wasn't so much about sort of like imitating what she would do, but just to sort of be more familiar with what a violin sounds like, and how one would hold it, and the posture that comes with it, and the movement that comes with embodying the music as well, because it's not just about playing the notes. I mean, music is something you feel all over. And so to sort of get that as well, because Jana's a prodigy. She's not just like your typical violin player. So you have to get to a certain level where you can sort of embody this thing, which I think is super cool. And I just watched Maestro, and Bradley Cooper orchestrating was something, just blew my mind. And so I would love to have a challenge like that one day. But I mean, it's important to show that, music is felt all over. It's not just, playing a few notes.
Now, tell us about working with the rest of the cast on the series.
Working with the rest of the cast was great. I mean, again, we had such a cool mixed, demographic. But we had, incredible cast members. Yaqoub Al Farhan, who plays my dad. Riham Al who plays my mom. And then we have Cynthia Khalife in the show as well. And then James Franco, who plays Jacob, and was super, super cool to meet him, because I respect him a lot as an artist. I think he's great. And we had Nicola Mawad and Mido Koteni as well, who plays Sammy. And we have just like this super, super, super cool cast, Saeed Sarhan. So I felt like in the beginning I was sort of intimidated, because these are like, incredible people that I look up to and that I really respect their work. But it was such a comfortable environment, and we had a lot of, crew and cast outings, and it was super safe and comfortable. And it was never like, ooh, can I like talk to this person? But it was, really, really, fun to get to know everybody. And I hope we get to meet up again, maybe for a subsequent season. Who knows? But I mean, I'd love to do that. So I don't know about that one yet, but I really hope it happens.
Now, one of the biggest focuses as diversity that you actually speak of, but also telling Mina's stories, and we need more of that, because I think at the beginning of the conversation you were mentioning, like it's not just about villains and so on, but it's all about the human stories.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's just important that we get rid of this nasty stereotype that's been, it's been around for too long. And usually if you have a Middle Eastern in a show that is, coming out from the West, usually it's, all right, so if you come from this part of the world, then we'll dress you this type of way. You'll have to speak with this accent. Your makeup and hair will be done this certain way. And your character arc is going to look like this. And, there's not a lot of just human stories about us. And I think that that's a huge issue. And now, we really have to start caring about this a little bit more, and that we can see ourselves on TV. And I think the first time that I felt that this was sort of my mission, and sort of what I really believed in, I did a show called Theodosia for HBO Max, and it was all about Egyptology, and I played an Egyptian princess. And I felt like it was super cool that, young girls would have sort of this like, person to watch on TV that looked like them, because I didn't have that growing up, which I know a lot of actors say, but it's true. A lot of ethnic actors have the same issue, where we didn't grow up watching people on TV that looked like us, or that, came from the same ethnic background. So we have to really, sort of, we have to sprinkle a little bit of diversity every now and again. And I think it's important that we start doing it in the most raw and the most humane and the most just realistic way possible, so that people get to know who we really are and how we actually function. Because if a show is written about us, and the person that wrote it, or whoever is making this story, hasn't even experienced our part of the world, that's what creates the stereotype, is that it's a lack of education and it's just a lack of awareness. So we have to sort of push them into that direction, that no, this is actually what we are and this is actually what we're like. So let's start writing more authentic stories, and stories that are actually accurate to who we are. And because we have a super rich tapestry, and I think it's really important to showcase that all over the world and internationally.
Do you think there's a generational divide when it comes to MENA storytelling, or is this basically a misunderstanding and we just MENA needs to lead more into this?
It's not so much about leading. I think no one needs to lead. I think it's just we should all sort of create together, and we should all sort of, you know, do it all together. I don't think it's mostly about, oh, this industry is leading or this industry is a little bit weaker. I think we should just start making stories together, because we're all human beings and we all experience similar issues. It's just translated differently, and sometimes we have sort of cultural norms that may be a little bit different, but that's what makes it beautiful. And that's why this world exists, is to, just sort of explore different cultures, explore different ways of life. And I just think that it's starting to, I mean, we have to stop with this sort of monotone aesthetic. We have to start sort of diversifying and trying new things. And I don't know, I mean, about the generational gap. I think now at least my generation is much more exposed to whatever's on social media. And this is a point that I was shedding light on in Content London, is that we're exposed to everything socially and economically and politically, everything. We're just exposed to it all. And so any information that we want to find, we can find it super fast. And so what that does is it sort of like, it shines a light on what is important in film and TV, and that's diversity, and how important it is to have different faces and all different types, all different walks of life in a work of art, because it just attracts that many more people, and you have so many more people that will be able to relate to the characters that you're writing about. So yeah, and I would love to direct and produce and write one day, and so I'm definitely working on this, on that front. So I'm excited to see what my generation will do next. We'll definitely take, I also said this there, that we'll take what we learned from previous generations, but I think we have our own sort of path, and it's gonna go well for us, I hope.
Well, most excellent. And how did you get into acting? Coming from a musical background, musical family and so on.
I started, I was born and raised in Switzerland. I lived there for 10 years, and I did ballet there, and I went into choir, and I really loved it. And so discovered that I love to be on stage and to perform. And then my family and I moved to Dubai for 4 years, where I enrolled in a performing arts school. I started studying musical theater and drama and singing. And so I just completed Trinity Drama. I did 6 years of musical theater, Lambda, singing. And so I just knew that this is what I need to do. And I don't know where I'll fit in all of this, but I need to at least try. And so I was showing, and I've been wanting to do it. I had been wanting to do it for such a long time, and I'd be showing my mom like behind the scenes videos, like, I want to do that. Obviously, first response is, I'm not really too sure if this is, the right decision. So it was about building trust as well, and to sort of get the ball rolling. And so I started doing commercials, and then everything led to the next with short films. And I took workshops and started studying it a little bit more. And then, so from, shorts to features, and then now to series and to TV shows. And I think it's really cool to kind of look back as well. I was just looking at my camera roll from when I was younger, and it's like, we've come a pretty long way, and it's great to see that progress, and, onwards and upwards. But yeah, I think I feel like it's always going to be my calling, whether it's in writing or whether it's in acting or singing, or, I've just always been super attracted to anything performing arts, anything that has to do with human expression. I think art is the most beautiful form of human expression. So yeah, I think I'll be doing it for a long time.
Are there particular like roles that you would love to seek, or people that you would love to work with?
People that I'd love to work with. Hold on, I think I have a list of some of the directors
Oh,
that
you have a dream list.
yeah, because I get asked this question a lot, and I always try to be, prepared. So Wes Anderson, Damien Chazelle, Greta Gerwig, Sofia Coppola, Darren Aronofsky, and Sam Esmail, who did Leave the World Behind, which I thought was an incredible movie. But I mean, there's just so many actors. I could go on and on for all the actors that I'd love to work with. But I think it's just now, like, I hope Karantina is a trailblazer for all of this, so that, you know, artists from all over the world can collaborate, and it's not, this is my industry and this is yours. And then, you know, roles that I'd love to do, I'm really interested in dissecting mental health. I advocate for it. I'm the ambassador of Safe Egypt, which is a mental health organization here in Egypt, and we talk about anything that has to do with mental health, children's rights, women's rights. So anything that kind of delves deeper into mental health and mental illness, I think is something that I'd love to do. But I love everything. I love comedy, I love horror, I love drama, I love anything that, you know, as long as it's written properly and it's written nicely, I'm in.
And I was gonna say, you know, you're talented, you act, you do music, and you definitely speak multiple languages from what I understand.
Trying, yeah.
Well, you know, it's been a pleasure carrying this conversation with you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
I most certainly hope the series do actually get picked up. I would love to check it out myself. But you're
Same here.
right. You know, diverse storytelling is what's going to make the future and the world goes round.
It
So
is the future. Yeah,
so
agreed.
so thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us.
Thank
And
you.
um, you know what? Certainly down the road, I think we're gonna do another talk. Like
I'd love that. That'd be my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.